Welcome to Talk of the Town, proudly brought to you by Uniquely Nelson. I'm your host, Chris Butler, and with me, Simon Duffy, General Manager of Uniquely Nelson. Today, we're coming to you from the State Cinema on Trafalgar Street. How about this?
You think the background gives it away?
Well, very theatrical this podcast is going to be.
We're theatrical people.
That's right. And joining us is Stuart Allan.
Morning, Stu.
From Link.
Good morning.
A theatrical background for you, Stu?
Yeah.
Or no?
Tell us
Definitely not.
Tell us about your first theatre experience. How was it?
First theatre experience, blimey. Would have been school plays, pantomimes, school productions, Taradale High School.
In them, not watching them.
Watching them.
Watching. Yeah, a lot of my mates used to volunteer for the set crew because it was getting closer to the girls in the theatre production.
Good call.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good to hear that. Plummy College.
First of all, Stu, tell us about your background. So, where is your homeland?
I was born and raised in Napier, a little town called Taradale. Very similar to Nelson, port, forestry, fruit, wine, climate, retirees. Even has the Napier Hastings, Nelson Richmond dynamic going on. A lovely place to grow up. Feel very fortunate, as most families growing up here. You know, the access to the sea, the rivers, the clean air, the clean water, the national parks, the tramping, motorbike riding. It's paradise for active explorers or active relaxers.
Yes. Yeah. So, how did you end up in Nelson? Because it was quite a journey, wasn't it, to get to be sitting in front of me and Chris?
Yes, it was. Actually came to Nelson on a promise. My wife at the time and I were living in Wellington. We were running a business consultancy similar to what Chris does. And we wanted to start a family, and we wanted to do that away from what we termed the concrete jungle.
Yep.
I've actually missed it by the day since. Love Wellington and Wellingtonians.
Yeah.
So came here on a promise. We said we were going to be here by 2000. We snuck in November 99. I wanted to find out who was in the zoo, so I used some prior experience and jumped into the Planet radio station just to find out who was who. Just to get
that on New Street?
Yeah, it was where Red Gallery. It was above Red Gallery, wasn't it?
Oh, there.
Which was basically the Kevin Hyde sold 5-share FM broadcasters. And he had a restraint of trade for a little while, didn't he? And I was in Perth then, and I just left. And then I'd got this phone call at 4 a.m. in the morning, and it was Butch Bradley saying, "Early bird catches the worm. By the way, you're live on radio. Welcome to the planet." And I also used to get John Bullock ring me about what was happening in Australia. And Kevin Hyde sort of basically sold his shares, had a bit of downtime, and then started up the Planet radio station.
So about that, Stu, this is all about you. But, we got a week.
But that's the history, isn't it?
Butch behind a microphone was fantastic. Kevin Ehi was just a lovable rogue.
Yeah.
Really, really lovely guy. Provided a lot of opportunity to a lot of people on a local level.
Yeah.
Lovely guy.
Yeah. So did you actually work there for a little while, did you?
Yeah, sales team.
Yeah, right.
I'd worked for ZB and Classic Hits in Wellington for about 5 or 6 years while I was studying up at Vic. So I actually still miss the radio days too. You know, I measure prior roles based on the number of genuine friends that you get from it, and most of my mates today are all ex-radio.
Yeah. Not just you, mate. You know,
except I'm.
I listen to the radio. I could be a mate.
We're on your tourism mates.
Oh, look, hey.
They all stick together.
Yeah, okay.
So what? So sales, and then what? Where did you sort of venture off to after the Planet?
When we moved from Wellington, I already had a business consultancy operating over there, so we relocated that to Nelson, and then I knew everyone on the 6:45, the 7:20 flight to Wellington. I was commuting backwards and forwards, and got sick of that pretty quickly. So we started building up clients down here, and then eventually parted ways on a front-footing basis with the Wellington-based clients. Had Kingfisher Marketing down here for around about 6 or 7 years, which was an equally as good a way of finding out who's who in the zoo and how clicky the Nelson market can be, like most provincial locations around the country. And then ran that for, as I said, probably about 10 or 11 years all up between Wellington and here. And then one of the clients who had just done a rebranding process and facilitated their first business plan said, "Look, why don't you come on board for a while?" And it was a business. Well, it was Matthews Eyewear and Eye Care, and it was a business model that I was particularly attracted to. Most of the business consultancy was professional service providers, doctors, lawyers, dentists, architects. It's a business model that I've always leant towards. And I've always worked in pretty easy metrics. Radio station is number of people listening and advertising dollars coming on the door. So drill everything back to the basic level metrics and then work around strategically growing businesses based on what you're able to achieve relative to budgets and resources, people skills. So I really enjoyed the process from Matthews. That was 2000. I was consulting in 2000, 2001. Went full-time with them as their GM 2002 and left there in 2010 to set up a recruitment and a business consultancy specifically for the optics industry.
Right.
And that's still running today, which is cool. Now it really has narrowed its focus on recruitment, so very niche recruitment pathway for the ophthalmic industry. So ophthalmologists, optometrists, dispensing opticians mainly.
Yeah, right.
So, what got you into brokering? Or so, how long have you been brokering now, and what actually got you into brokering?
It's an interesting story in itself. The consulting that I'd been doing for optometry practices around the country, there was around 5 or 6 that I was pretty much spending most of my time in. It was what became business plan, marketing plan, HR strategies, developed and led into succession planning. So there were 4 or 5 optometry practice owners that were what we call journeymen or journey people. They were, how am I going to get out of this? So the HR planning moved into recruiting optometrists that were likely to become 25, 50% shareholding partners over a period of time. The typical process for a dental practice or a GP practice or a pharmacy or optometry practice. So, and then for 3 or 4 of them said, "Well, look, you know more about my business arguably than I do. Why don't you look at selling it for us?" So I started the process of using the business consulting background in terms of how would I go about doing this. And I had about 5 or 6 away, sold them and fell in love with it. But I did get a shot across my bow from the REA, the Real Estate Authority, quite rightly. You cannot work in any form of real estate and earn an income from real estate without having at least a salesperson's license. So they handled that really, really well. To their credit, I've been champions for them ever since. They said, "Look, enroll to do the course. Show me within 3 months that you've made a commitment to starting the course and getting on with it, and we've reviewed your work. You're doing actually pretty good work." So I fast-tracked getting my salesperson's license and have since gone on and completed my full real estate agent's license.
So that's interesting, isn't it? Because you can do a private sale with a house, residential house, if you want to, with solicitors involved. But when it comes to doing business sales, you definitely have to have some sort of license to do brokering, is that?
Well, the measure is, in terms of business brokering, solicitors, lawyers can complete a transaction, accountants can complete a transaction. Otherwise, you need to be a licensed real estate agent. So,
right.
Probably 50, 60% of the work that I am engaged with today has come from a referral from a lawyer or an accountant. So it's a nice position to be in. Fundamental process in sales. You never ever drop the ball on a referral, regardless as to how attractive an engagement it might be or not. So you still need to be licensed to be able to complete a sale and purchase agreement.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's also some checks and balances by going through that process. For the client using you, there are some protections with the fact that you have to follow a certain process, you have to follow the law, obviously, but also, you know a thing or two about the process.
Indeed, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm old enough now to know that I don't take any shortcuts. Um, the industry itself lays down the process that you must follow.
yeah,
So it's a matter of following set process, but it's also about introducing your own. You can still customize it. So the business brokering background means that my approach to business brokering is more of a consulting platform. So I see it as
right.
more of a project engagement because,
Mm.
ultimately every business that I only take on businesses that I know I can sell. Um, you don't get to sell them all, but the better hit rate you get, the
Yeah.
better you are, the better reputation you have. Success drives new business and more referral.
But which is interesting because there is a bit of a process, isn't there? Because it's not like you can suddenly just list your business, because you have to have, not unlike a house. The real estate agents always tell you about, a well-dressed home is going to sell better. So put a little bit of effort into tidying things up before you present it. So presumably when you're going into a business and they want to sell it, there are things to look at first before you put it on the market.
Probably 25-30% of the first up meetings that I have and establish the trust, ensure that the chemistry is right for both parties. Um, a lot of the times I'll be scanning through, be it balance sheets or profit and losses, and you can see a lot of business owners, not everybody, there's some very, very good operators out there, but there still remains some wood for the trees. So,
Mm.
if I was going to make a change, where would I start? Um, yeah, 25-30% of the time, I'm actually helping them prepare their business for sale. And
Yeah.
sometimes it might be that if you did this, and this is the difference to the bottom line or the surplus that it would make. Call it a 2.5 times multiple. The difference of 20K that can be found, or 100K that can be found, could be another 150 to 250K to the asking price of the value of the business.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah.
and that's always engaging. I make people, the business consulting background means that I seek to make people accountable in their own business. So if I'm providing recommendations with regard to what they should be doing over the next, we review it every 90 days. If they're keeping on track of what they said they were going to do, I'll continue with the process. If they don't, then I'll step back and they can come back to me or another broker at some stage in the future when the business is in a better position.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Geez, I mean, you might turn their business around. They might decide not to sell it.
There's a lot of that happens.
They have. I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
yeah, that happens. Why would you sell?
You have a clause in there, like, at
Yeah,
least
I want
I
10% of.
I want 10% of that turnaround.
I wouldn't have committed to have
No.
completed all of the upfront work.
Yeah.
But I had one yesterday. Why sell? It could be a fully managed business. It's tracking well. Maintain a background role. Maybe step in and do some business development work and revenue generation. But otherwise have a good work-life balance.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then when they are ready to sell in a year or
Yeah,
two,
that's it.
you'll be the first one they knock on the door.
Yeah, exactly.
You build it
It's
yeah.
pipeline. Yeah.
So you we're in the question, but we're jumping around, aren't we? But you joined Link. Tell us about why and when you actually joined them, and what your specialty has been in the last couple of years. Is it was within certain sectors that you're selling, or commercial property, or is it working in tourism, or is it retail, hospitality, or bigger businesses? So with Link, getting involved in Link and how long you've been there, and then if you do have a speciality that you say, no, I won't be touching that, but I'm very interested in this space.
There's a lot of questions in there.
There's three.
So I've worked for 3 different real estate brands now. And no disrespect to the prior brands that I worked for here in Nelson. I learned a lot on the pathway while I was with them, but what I should have done from the start was engaged or contracted to a real estate a firm that specialized in business sales. I've never really been interested in residential, rural apartments, commercial, industrial. So there's 2 in the country that specialize. Well, there's probably about 6 in the country, but they have specific niches. Um, so Link is the largest in the country by far, in terms of business sales.
Yep.
I had a franchise with them here. We had a difference of opinion about whether I should be opening an office and taking on contract brokers to work for me through lockdowns and COVID and then a recession. So we decided that the best path for me was to continue as a broker at street level. So why Link? Processes and systems are amazing.
Yep.
And well proven. By far the largest, so it means we've got more buyers, more sellers, far larger databases to be able to explore, to tap into people that. So if I brought a cafe on the market here, for example, I would. I've got a database of every business in New Zealand, so I can create a sub database and reach out and just let everyone know.
Yep.
So a good broker does work below the line rather than just taking the client's money and putting some ads up and bounce like in a tailwind and hoping for the best. So Link processes, systems, and I would also add that they've got fantastic people in the right places. So I work from a home office. I work alone. So I've got the perfect business where I have no overheads and no staff. The option of going out by myself, creating my own brand, would mean that I'd need to take on administrators. I'd need to establish a presence. So I've got a unique model where I can engage to broker clients' businesses or vendors' businesses, and I've got a team that are all so AML needs, anti-money laundering legislation, graphic designers we use out of the Philippines, professional copywriters are based in Tauranga. I can tap into really good skills and facilitate the whole lot from just a cloud platform.
So what are the main, I mean, there's 2 questions here really, because, what are the main challenges for you, but also, what do you enjoy most, about this industry?
Sure. I actually love it. I used to be one of those people that, didn't have a healthy respect for real estate agents. Now I know how much work they do.
Yeah.
Question again?
Well, challenges for you.
Yeah.
First of all, what do you find are the biggest challenges? But, this could be the same. What do you enjoy most about working in the industry?
Challenges, recession. As soon as interest rates go through the roof and disposable income being pinched everywhere at all levels, there's obviously fewer people looking to buy a business, and sometimes there's people that still need to sell the business, and the dynamics or the timing doesn't necessarily match up. So recessions, I've been doing it long enough now. We've been through, we know everything works in cycles. So it's nice. It's definitely picking up now. Absolutely no question. I can broker businesses anywhere in the country. So the challenge is sometimes is being able to how much time you lose by sitting in a plane or sitting in a car to get to a potential new client. What I love about it, so the business brokering taps into a lot of experience that I've built up over the years. As we all know, the older we get, the more we learn, so assuming that you're open to learning. So I can tap into prior experience and previous sales. There are probably 320, 330 real estate agents across the top of the South. There's probably 315 of them that are solely in commercial, industrial, or residential. So I have very few competitors.
Interesting.
The success fee level on a business sale is 3 to 4 times the size of what people might, well, 2 to 3 times the size of a residential sale. So it's lucrative when you can get the job done, but you only get paid based on presenting an offer to a vendor that's on terms acceptable to them alone.
I mean, is the perception that it is a longer process before you get a sale, or is it, like any house, some could take longer and some could happen straight away?
Shortest sale I've ever had is 5 weeks. And there's been maybe 15, 20% of businesses that I've listed that I've not been able to sell. And they're the ones you remember.
Yeah.
No matter what you
They're the ones that stick with you.
Yeah. And you still had the opportunity of learning from each of those. So nothing's ever a waste of time. kind of an approach to life that I'm always learning.
Mm.
So it's disappointing when you can't get it away and you can't actually achieve what the client was expecting, what their overall engagement goal was. Sometimes that's climate, economic climate. Sometimes that's just lack of interest in that particular industry. So I wouldn't take on, for example, a video store. There's nothing sexy about it, and there's nothing. The future is bleak.
Yeah.
So the more exciting businesses that are doing well, everyone's talking currently about hospitality sector being 25-30% down. I've got 2 listings at the moment that where they're 10% up.
Yeah, right.
So
right.
there's still some very good operators out there.
Mm.
In terms of Simon's question referred to niche, I cut my teeth learning to broker businesses with optometry practices. And probably 40-50% of my work is still optometry practices. I've also got a recruitment company for the optics industry as well, so I kind of know all the optometrists, most of the dispensing opticians. I also do work as a buyer's agent for my largest client over in Victoria. So that's again turning stones, I call it, uncovering opportunities that meet their brief for them to be able to acquire. And their focus is largely more market share. So cut my teeth on optometry practices. After having done in excess of 100 practices, I wanted more stimulation. So it was time to open things up to what I call non-optical business brokering. So, and just to finish off your question, I lean heavily towards professional service providers. I generally, this is a general statement, I generally try and stay away from retail, hospitality, or franchised business units. Franchised because whenever there's a third party involved in the decision-making process, it can tip it over. Retail, there are some very, very good retailers in Nelson and Richmond. I wouldn't take on a retailer outside of the local area. I wouldn't take on hospitality outside of the local area. But again, if I get a referral from an accountant or a lawyer, I'll never ever drop the ball on it. It could be a failing cafe. There's still a job to be done in terms of potentially realising the assets and enabling the vendor or the owner to release themselves from the lease.
So, having just met you for the first time today, Mr. Allan, what do you do in your spare time? What do you do? Do you take people up Mount Arthur and have their nails ripped off 4 days later?
I'll leave you to answer that.
That's what he did to me.
What? He ripped your nails off?
I've been here 3 weeks, and we're sitting around somewhere. You introduce yourself, someone, and we and chatting away, and a few hours later, he says, "Oh, we're going for a walk in the bush on Sunday. Would you like to come, or Saturday?" I went, yeah. Part of the reason I'm moving back to Nelson. Where we're going? Oh, we're going over by Mount Arthur. I thought we're going from sort of Marahau up to Anchorage and back, sort of that level. You could do it in bare feet. 8 hours later, we're coming back off Mount Arthur, and I had the wrong shoes on, and coming down, it's kind of, and I didn't clip my nails or whatever, and about 2 or 3 days later, both of my nails on my big toes fell off. And that's my introduction to Stu Allan.
Right.
Welcome to Nelson. Let me remove your nails.
And he's never let you forget that, obviously.
Simon's never let me forget it. No. But this is an army boy. The fundamental
I know.
platform for army is
He probably called himself up to, that's no problem.
Look after your feet.
Yeah,
that's
right. We're going up a mountain. It was a fun day.
So that question goes to spare time, doesn't it? So what do you like to do in your spare time?
I love what I do work-wise. So my default, I work from a home office. So the benefit for my clients is that they can call me around the clock on weekends that I'm living it. I read a lot. My ultimate switch off is reading. I collect books. Most of it is in and around a personal interest and passion of the personality types of survivors, be they down on the ice or in a yachting race or climbing mountains. I'm fascinated by
human endurance.
It's not just endurance. It's remaining calm, and it's not normally one big disaster that goes wrong. It's typically a succession of small things. So that's always interested me. So I read a lot, collect books. I have a disabled daughter, so I channel my voluntary work or my Yeah, my voluntary work is shaped in and around her interests. So
Yeah.
I'm a trustee for Sailability Nelson, a bit of a plug for them. They're an entity that runs out of Nelson Yacht Club that provides teaching people how to sail for disabled children or adults. I've been doing that for about 7 or 8 years. I'm also the manager and co-coach for 3 Special Olympic basketball teams.
Yep.
Again, LJ, my daughter, has been playing basketball for 7 or 8 years. And that's a community, rather than being basketball. Basketball is just the glue that actually holds it together.
Yeah.
A wonderful community that's been a real pleasure to be part of. In fact, it's addictive. So we've got some amazing sponsors behind Sailability Nelson and Special Olympics basketball. I kind of oversee that and make sure that they're well communicated, and the relationship from sponsor to benefactor is managed really, really well on the front foot. I'll probably be coming to talk to you on the sports show at some
geez.
stage.
Oh, and a lot of trips away by the sounds of it. There's lots of tournaments that seem to go. So a lot of organising there, isn't there?
Just returned from Greymouth a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we took 3 teams down to Greymouth to support Special Olympics West Coast. They're amazing hosts. It's about a 3rd or 4th trip down to Greymouth. Awesome recreational facilities down there. So the only way you get fit playing basketball is by playing basketball. So the more court time they have,
Yep.
The better. And what's fascinating about it in terms of basketball for impaired people is that A, the skill to be able to play basketball, and B, to be able to play as a team. So it's the confidence, the belief. So the whole community is all around connectedness, acceptance, and belonging. So everyone looks after everyone. Some people, like my daughter, is not necessarily so good at basketball, but our A team, she's in the C team. Our A team are 3rd best in the country.
Yeah.
So they're looking to improve upon their bronze medals from the last nationals in Hamilton 22. Next nationals are in December in Christchurch, December 25. So 14 months away.
Yeah.
So we're readying for that already.
You have had to get the odd spare coach in. How's that gone for you and the team? And is he still asked to come in occasionally to take the team?
Spare coach?
Well, there's been the odd care taker. Might have been practice or training or something of that nature that he's been involved in. And has that gone very well?
No, Chris. No. I was behind the scenes guy. You know, when he's out and about,
you
and
told me
touring the world.
Stu's asked you to take over as head coach.
Head coach, yeah, and you know me in sports, right? Cricket, rugby, basketball, anything really. I'm behind the scenes. I pick up drop-offs, feed the cats,
and the other question is, has he been asked to come back? It's the
absolutely, yeah. No,
oh yeah,
yes, yeah. No, Simon's been wonderful. Whenever I've been away, I would do trips to Oz, or my partner's doing a master's in optometry at Deacon's University in Geelong, so I'll shoot over to see her. And Simon loves cats, so I've had 2 cats down to 1 cat. Yeah, Simon's been an amazing mate in terms of supportive role over the years. And it's, how long is that now? When did you come back to Nelson?
9.5, 10 years ago.
Yeah. So,
and love picking up LJ when he's away and taking to the practice things and out to Saxon. And at first I thought, because basketball was there, but the Saxon one I really love. Go and see the guys actually compete. You know, Wednesday they would practice, and then Sunday they get out to Saxon, and I really look forward to it. It's quite fun.
Yeah, it's the Fulton Hogan League, which you're probably aware of from your sports show. Yeah.
Oh right, no, sorry. What? Tell me about that.
There's an entity called Inclusive Sports Trust that runs the Fulton Hogan League on Sundays from late May to mid-August. There's about 130 impaired athletes
that
play basketball. You know, talking 14, 15 teams that play every Sunday, again, late May through to mid-August. Fantastic. In the basketball circles, considered one of the best leagues in the country.
Right.
Exceptionally well run. I'm just about to provide a support role for them too, which I'm really quite excited about.
No, we must talk more about that. I know Stu Reid takes a Special Olympics football team.
Yes,
he really enjoys that. So it'd be worth an interview, a podcast in itself to learn more about that.
It's addictive, but it survives on the strength of volunteers.
Yeah,
like most. Non-representative sporting entities. Yeah.
We operate within the CBD on the fringe there, working from home. But what do you like about Nelson City? which you've kind of answered before, why you moved here and what Nelson has to offer. But what do you like about Nelson, the city itself, and what would you like to see happen with the city in the next 5 to 10 to 15 or however long you want to think, as far as where we should go, where we're going, what we could do better? What's your thoughts on that?
Ooh, is this from a business and operating a business perspective, or is it a place to live perspective?
A bit of both, but
Mhm.
it's just actually I'm probably more on you as a person,
Mhm.
you know. Yeah, it's probably more for you as a person. Because
Okay.
business will go whatever the market forces, but you personally, what direction would you like to see Nelson City go in? What do we need?
Okay.
What can we
So,
improve upon?
on a personal level, I mean, business-wise, I'm working across the country and a little bit across the ditch as well anyway. So, the longer you live in Nelson, the smaller it gets. Um, but I do love being able to wander down the main street and bump into people that I know. So I do like the sense of community, a really
Yep.
good, strong sense of community. I like our hospitality scene. I'm not out and about. I'd rather be reading books than spending money at bars. But on Friday night, because I live alone and I work alone, I like to get out and get some social contact and have a reasonable conversation rather than one with myself or with clients. So, hospice scene, the connectivity of the region. I ride motorbikes and I love tramping, so it's paradise for that.
Yeah.
You can wake up in the morning and see what the weather's doing, and that'll determine which direction you're going to go in. Um, access to special little places like the Brook Wamarama Sanctuary. So last Sunday, probably every 90 days, I'll do a walk through to Ferny Flats, and it's just this really
Mm.
special part of the country, let alone it's only a 10-minute drive from
Yeah.
home. It's quite extraordinary. Um, I do that with a bunch of mates. I think you've been through to Ferny Flats as well. And even better on a wet day. So if you're looking for
Mm.
a wet day walk, grab a map as you go through and pay your fee at the sanctuary. And on a wet day, Ferny Flats is just you just want to stop. And last Sunday was a pretty special day. Everything was it was just perfect conditions. It was lovely. So what would I like to see? This is where it becomes a little political, and I was kind of hoping to stay away from that. Um, I mean, Nelson's pretty sad. Um, I was it's hodgepodge. There's been lots of talk fests about what's going to happen and what's going to be done next, and then there's not a great deal of action behind it. So I've become a little bit, I'll keep an eye on what's happening, but I don't engage with it. I don't. What would I like to see happen? Christ, there's only 200,000 people in the top of the South, and if I've had a magic wand or a crystal ball or a magic gloves or whatever, I'd merge all three councils, not just
Mm.
Nelson and Tasman. And have
Yep.
a more a corporate structure in terms of around planning and making sure that the investment, aquaculture for Marlborough and grapes, obviously the wine industry, here fishing. I believe that the councils, I believe the region, the top of the south, is undermarketed. Um, I believe that the council's facilities should be reasonably heavily weighted on hustling to attract businesses to the region.
Business, yeah. Talent attraction.
We don't need more retirees. We need more tax-paying
Yeah.
people that bring families and fill up schools and start businesses or run businesses and employ staff and all those things that are good for the region. So until we at least have maybe even now an NCC TDC merger, I don't think we're going to have a consistent long-term plan. And once we've got a really consistent long-term plan for the whole, maybe Nelson Tasman, maybe Nelson Tasman Marlborough, then we'll be able to realise the efficiencies of having everyone on one vision, and you've got about a 30–40% chance of actually realising what you set out to do. So airport's wonderful, although there may well have been an opportunity at some stage to actually move that right up to the back end of the Waimea Plains and turn Manako and the airport and the golf course into the Mount Maunganui at the top of the south. So we need to shape. I think there's a need. I was living in Wellington when the Absolutely Positively Wellington campaign ran through, and its initial strategy was to get Wellingtonians laughing about themselves. They were the Roman sandal cardigan wearing public servants, and got everyone laughing about themselves and developed this awesome sense of pride. and I think we're lacking pride.
Mhm.
So at the moment, I get on doing my business and keep my head down and don't typically pop up making statements.
Making bold statements on podcasts.
We've got
Well, that's why we're here. We like to poke the bear.
There's some amazing businesses in the region, and
Yeah.
really good innovators, free thinkers, um, and it's about harnessing those people with a positive outlook on life and a genuine desire to do well by the region. I would also love to see a medium-sized concert venue established in a very unique location, so that it actually was such a good location that it actually attracted the artists.
Yes.
So that you had a constant, we've got this dearth of winter. Well, there's an opportunity for a winter event called Fire and Ice, where you partner with someone like Napier and you bring in 3 rock acts, maybe Napier and New Plymouth, or Christchurch, Napier, Nelson, and you have 3 venues set up and you just rotate the artists, so everyone's getting the big name artists over a series of days. So attracting people to the region for all the right reasons. It's all about attracting people here to earn, to have their tourist dollar spent here that was earned elsewhere. That's got to be good for the region.
Yeah.
Great, fantastic. All right, well,
customers turning out.
yeah, we better move on because we've got people coming and wanting to watch a movie. But thanks very much for coming to see us, Stu. It's great to hear about your background, quite vast in your experience, and now with your business brokering, obviously a lot to offer the businesses with advice, but also getting those sales going. And we really appreciate you coming in and telling us about your background and what you do. And
Thanks for having us.
Excellent, Stu.
Cool.
And would like to also thank the State Cinema for hosting us here today. Thank you, Simon. And you can find this podcast along with others at uniquelynelson.co.nz and talknelson.co.nz. And on Spotify, just look for Uniquely Nelson. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to join us next time for more from Talk of the Town. This is Chris Butler and Simon Duffy signing off. Until next time, Nelson.
Stay uniquely Nelson, and link. Yeah, link business brokers. We always put.
Yeah, I think he was trying to type